great. So welcome to Teaching Talk 68, everyone. I'm here today with Director of Online Education, Michael Miguel. And I asked him if he could do one of these workshops to specifically focus on some tips and tricks for the beginning of the quarter, everything from importing your class and checking out links and settings and so forth. So he's going to go through this, and I really encourage you, if you're watching this video after the workshop here, please reach out and ask some questions, because we're always here to help out with stuff. So Michael, thank you and welcome.
Thanks, Scott. Happy to be here and welcome everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started. What we're going to go over today is beginning of the semester best practices. Like Scott said, my name is Michael Miguel. I'm the Director of Online Education here at Lake Tahoe Community College. And first thing I'd like to go over is basically what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about starting early. We just recently adjusted Canvas's start and end dates to where it will open a week early. So if you do want to take advantage of that, and we do encourage that you take advantage of getting your course published a week early. There's that we'll talk about. I will also talk about importing content from a previous course. We'll talk about setting up your gradebook, a few little tricks and tips for setting that up. We'll also talk about batch editing assignment dates, which is a real hot button issue, and also setting up your announcements for your students. All right, so first thing we're going to do is talk about starting your course early. And really, best practices encourage opening up your course at least 1 week before the actual start date. This does a few things for your students. It allows students to plan their term out. So if they maybe, your course is probably not the only course they're taking, they probably have a part-time job, maybe a couple of them, and opening that course up to where they can see where they're going to have really busy weeks. This gives them the opportunity to reach out. Maybe they need to find childcare for specific dates, maybe for midterms or finals. If they have a bunch on the same day, they can arrange with their employer to have a little bit more time off during certain times of the term. So it's just really good to allow them to do this ahead of time. Also allows them to verify that the textbook is correct. We're all human beings here, and doesn't always happen, doesn't happen very often, but I've seen where a textbook will be listed that isn't going to be used, or maybe you switch to an OER textbook, and this will help your students either have their textbook early or verify that they don't need a specific textbook if you are using those open educational resources. They will also be able, if you publish your welcome module or introduction module, they'll be able to read all the welcome content, complete any kind of syllabus reviews or syllabus acknowledgements that you might have. You might choose to let them participate in maybe a introduce yourself discussion board in this first, pre-week. I call it week 0 rather than week 1. And what this really does overall is it allows you to dig into your material on day 1. So I've always kind of, in my teaching practices, I've always kind of, in a way, felt bad for dumping the syllabus acknowledgement, the introductions, and, if I have a packed curriculum in that course, I kind of feel bad about, dumping that chapter 1 or whatever into that week 1. This really makes you feel a little bit better about doing that because you did give your students the week early. I will also say that a really good practice, if you do decide to open your course a week early, is to send out through Canvas inbox a message to all your students when you do publish your course. Even if you don't open it a week early, the first thing I do after I publish a course is I go over to my inbox and I send a message to all students in that course that the course is open and they can start working through it. So now we're going to move on to importing content. We'll talk about finding the content that you want to import, using courses. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch from this presentation over to Canvas. So I'm going to go through what I'm going to do real quick. I'll switch over to Canvas and actually show you the steps that I'm going to go through to do all these different things. So a lot of faculty have problems finding courses, previous courses, and that's really because, you know, here at LTCC, sometimes a course won't be taught for an entire academic year. So you might not teach a course, you know, the last time you might have taught a course you're teaching this semester is spring of 21. And sometimes they think that that's just going to be on the dashboard and it's going to be easy to find, but it's not. So on the dashboard, in Canvas, rather than staying in the dashboard, right below that, there's the courses button, and I'll show you how to actually find those older courses. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I don't believe we really have a policy for deleting old courses at this point.
I don't think so. No, I think we keep all old courses. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can pretty much go back. I believe I did check that out. I just wanted to verify.
Yeah.
Scott, but I did check it out. And I think the first course I ever taught for LTCC is still accessible on Canvas for me. Another big issue with Canvas is when you do import your course content, there is an option to adjust the due dates. In my teaching career, that has worked twice for me. It's just kind of a clunky deal unless you get your dates 100% perfect and everything lines up, which I'll tell you right now, the courses that open on a Wednesday, if you're importing content from a course that opened on a Monday, it just turns into a huge nightmare. Rather than using that function that adjust due dates, there is a batch edit function within the assignments tab, and I'll show you guys how to use that as well. That works out a whole lot better. Just some real simple math that you have to do to figure that one out. And making sure that you have your content up to date. I remember my first course that I taught here at LTCC, I had imported my course content from another campus that I taught at. And I didn't remember to update my syllabus. So my students were seeing welcome to not LTCC when it should have been something like that. So really taking the time to do your due diligence, going through, making sure, you know, things like a welcome message, if you can make it more evergreen to where it doesn't really include welcome to the spring 22 semester, maybe just welcome to my course, I'm happy to have you. That makes it easier on you as a faculty member to not have to really do that. So what I've done is I've set up a course shell, this practice course shell, which is located here. I've already got it open. So this is how you find your course beginning of the semester before you've imported any content. And what I want to do with that is bring in content from an older course. Now you may have a sandbox set up already, or you may want to take it from just a previous terms course. Either way, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on this very top option, which says import existing content. All right. First thing you have to choose is the content type. If you have a sandbox or a previous terms course, you would pick copy a Canvas course. Now, if you're coming from, I know a lot of adjuncts come from other campuses where they may have been teaching that course. We're not going to go over how to export your stuff from there, but if you already have exported it and you want to bring that content into this course, you would select this Canvas course export package. I'm not going to go over that right now. If you do need help with something like that, you can reach out to myself or Scott. We'd be happy to help you with that.
Hey, Michael, I just thought of a great question. So if like people teach at different institutions, like if you taught at LTCC in West Hills, I'm not sure about this. Will your West Hills classes show up in your LTCC, or do you log in to a second Canvas?
You'll log into your separate. So they're completely they're basically called instances, and West Hills has theirs, you know, Peralta has theirs, we have ours. We actually have a second instance for that we'll be launching for incarcerated students program courses down the road. So each college has their own Canvas instance.
Okay, so if hypothetically, if you were teaching psych at West Hills and you wanted to bring that class into our LTCC instance, then the only way to do that is export and then use that option you saw there, right? Import Canvas. That second one, what's it called? Import.
It is called Canvas Course Export Package.
Okay, so that would be the only way, it sounds like.
Well, there you can use Canvas Commons as well,
Oh, yeah, okay.
but that gets a little bit trickier because Canvas doesn't recognize you, the West Hills you and the Lake Tahoe you as the same human being. So it gets a little more complicated that way. I've found with the courses that I've taught at various campuses, the easiest way is really to export it, gives you a little file in your downloads, and then you just go through those steps with it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's great.
No problem. So we're just going to assume that you're just taking it from a previous term here at LTC and moving it into this term. So what you would do is you would click this copy a Canvas course. That brings up a few options for you. A little trick that I've learned over the years is the easiest way to find this is, let's just say I want to import this biological psychology ISP sandbox. What I do from here is I just right click and copy this naming structure at the top.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And then when I come over and paste into here, it automatically brings up the course that I want rather than having to hunt and peck through a bunch of different courses. First or next thing you'll do is there's specific reasons why you would use this select specific content. If you don't know that reason, you probably don't use that. Just for, long story short, I don't want to get this too confusing. 99% of the time I've chosen this all content that brings everything from this course, this previous course, into your new course that we're actually in now. Now, this is what I was talking about as far as the adjust events and due dates. I do not like to use this feature. It just doesn't. If everything started on a Monday and it was all the same exact amount of weeks and everything like that, and the finals were always on the same date, this works better, but there's still a better way to do it. So we'll go over that better way in a minute. Once you've done this, you just click the import function and you'll get this course copy. It's copying this course and it's queued. This, depending on your bandwidth, depending on how busy Canvas's servers are, things like that. It may take longer, it may take shorter, just depending. So from there, that's going to be running. And once it is done, all your content will be in this course. So it will look exactly like this in your current terms course.
I really like that tip. I've never seen that because when you import a class, like if I'm doing it, if I import cultural anthro, I'll get like 10 instances. So I like that you can do that because I've always thought like, how do I find the right class? But that works every time then because it copies the exact term and you know the exact class. That's really good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And something I might have mentioned before, but I guess we'll just talk about it now, is that whole deal where faculty are like, okay, I have my new shell, I'm going to be teaching, but I can't find my old course. Please help me. A lot of times it's because they go to their dashboard and they see their published courses. They see their unpublished courses like a sandbox, maybe something like that, but they don't see their spring 2021 course. The way to fix that is instead of clicking dashboard, click on courses. Here's an entire list of courses, but if you scroll to the very bottom, it will say all courses. Now, this is every course that you've ever been a teacher in at LTCC. So this is the easiest way. So we'll just say we wanted to copy. I mean, we're going back all the way to summer of 2019. Maybe I wanted this content. You just click on this. And then I can do just like I was saying before, just click up here and copy that, paste it into your import existing content, the window or the the spot for it in there, and everything works the easiest way possible. All right. And if there were some faculty in here, I would be answering questions right now. So Scott or Kelly, if you guys can think of any questions that faculty might have, go ahead and
No, I just would say it's really helpful knowing that trick, because I think if you've only taught one type of class, like if you only taught one section of biopsych, it'd be easy. But I get a lot of instructors who'll say, and Michael, you probably get this a lot, there's a feature that is not currently enabled, but it'd be good to mention here. It's the reset course content feature. And the scenario is, this has happened probably, I don't know, 20 times in the last couple of years. A faculty member imports the wrong class, maybe because they didn't do that trick that you have the copy and paste. And then what they'll ask is, can you reset the course content? Now, in the old days, you used to be able to do that at the faculty or even departmental level. That privilege got taken away. There was discussion about bringing them back. The reason I think we don't want to bring that back is if you reset that course content, you can't get that back. And so the fear is if you did that to an active class. So some of you, if you're wondering, the reason maybe I think, and Michael, you can correct, that was disabled was the fear that someone would do that during an active term and we'd lose all that student information.
right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the reason it was taken away before I had gotten here. There is, I think it's a two-step process. It's not like you click that and you don't get any, it's just over once you do. There is, a gigantic red button comes up a warning. It says you will not be able to get this content back. And that is definitely something that is up for discussion as far as bringing that button back or just keeping it. I really do like that idea, Scott, of maybe giving that permission. I don't know if we'd have to create another role for department chairs to where department chairs could also reset it if you ask, because then that's kind of a 3-step rather than just a 2-step. You've asked and then they've approved it and kind of a deal. So yeah, that's true.
Because I think if you you just imported your biopsych, and so that's imported. Now, if you went back and you forgot you did that and you clicked import existing content again, and let's say you imported a second section of biopsych, I think then isn't it going to mush the two together, like different content?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and this warning message here addresses that.
It will override.
Yeah, it'll override everything. I've never tested that with actual students to see, let's say your students have turned in assignments 1 through 5 and you import again, if that will overwrite their grades on the I'm not exactly sure. So that's one of those things that you don't really want to play around with. Another thing that I will say, that if you do the way that I was suggesting as far as copying this and pasting it, it pastes it exactly correctly. Now, what's funny is if you go to other places, and I can't remember at this moment where those other places are, it will actually leave a big space behind. So this entire space here behind it, if you copy it a different way than what I've shown here, and it will not be able to find the course anymore. So a lot of people they're like, okay, your way didn't work, but it's because you have all these spaces here. And as you can see here, it's bringing up legal aspects of real estate, and we're talking about a biological psychology course. So getting rid of that automatically, which for some reason Canvas still leaves that, but it does bring your course up there.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So that is basically importing course content. Next thing I would like to talk about is adjusting due dates. Now, adjusting due dates, before Canvas brought this feature, let's see if I can go to this one. Nope, that doesn't have it. Before Canvas brought this feature, what you had to actually do if you didn't use the adjust events and due dates when you imported the content was you would have to go to every single solitary assignment, you'd be scrolling down, and you would have to adjust the due dates painstakingly, each assignment, each quiz, each discussion, everything like that. Canvas brought out a new feature that if you click on the assignments link, it will eventually bring up all your assignments. From here, click on, in the instructional design world, the little 3 dots is called a snowman. If you click on your snowman here, it says edit assignment dates. Click on this. It'll think for a minute, and it brings up all the assignments in the course. Now, this course is packed full of them because I've just played with this a million times and I have a ton of stuff in here. But right now it says 0 assignments selected. You can adjust 1 assignment at a time, or you can click this box next to title and it will make this batch edit button live. If you click on this, it says shift due dates. Now, this is very basic and it doesn't require a little bit of math, but I like the fact that it's basic. So let's just say, we'll just pay attention to, let's say, this Sunday, April 11th column, Sunday, April 11th, Sunday, April 11th. So if I click batch edit and I say 180 days, so let's just say it's exactly 6 months from the date, and click OK, it just changed all assignments in my course. It moved the due date, the available from, and the available until date 180 days. So basically what I'm saying here is, let's say that your first assignment is due April 12th, or it was due April 12th the last time you taught it, and you want it to be due June 28th. Basically, you just have to do the math between April 12th and June 28th one time. Then you'll click that batch edit. You'll put however many days that math equaled out to, click OK, and it will change all your assignments for you. So that's an easy way. That's the easiest way to edit all assignment dates in a course when you do import that content. Now, one thing in my instructional designer days, the biggest thing in Canvas is if there's a blue button and you want to keep the changes you've made, you better click that big blue button. You'll do all this work, and if you don't click that save, it's like you didn't do anything. You would save it, it'll adjust all those dates, and then when you go over to your modules, now you'll see that all the dates have been edited. So that's really how the best way that I've found in my experience to do the batch edit.
Can I ask real quick? I almost think, when I do this, so we all have calendars on our iPhones, but, I use a paper calendar. And one of the reasons for that is, like what you just described, I'm going to have to really know a calendar to adjust. If it's like 10 days or something, but so do you recommend that? Do you recommend that people keep like a paper calendar, just a way to figure out, I don't want to call it the math, but you know what I mean? It's like 180 days. Does that fall on a Monday or a Sunday? So
exactly. So really, and like you said, Scott, yes. I went through school at a time before everything was turned in on a computer. There was a lot of handwritten stuff. So I still like that tactile writing down on paper, being able to erase with a pencil, even though you can, if you're comfortable using, like Outlook calendar, Google Calendar, something like that to count your days. And I've never tested it, but I'm pretty sure you could literally ask Google how many days is in between, January 1st and October something, and it would probably tell you the exact date, which would be kind of interesting to see. But what I would suggest, whatever you're most comfortable with. And if you do make a mistake by a day or two, you can always go back in there to that batch edit and fix it that way, rather than having to go assignment by assignment by assignment. Because I mean, my courses are very planned out. I don't really have to make a lot of changes. So when I do import content, the biggest workload I have is to change those dates. So this feature in Canvas is a lifesaver for me to get things up and running as fast as possible.
I love batch edit. I've used both. The only time I go through and click each separate one is if I have something date specific or quarter specific in an assignment. So like if I had 11 discussions or 11 quizzes and something in the text of that said something specific to last time it was taught, only in that case I wouldn't use batch edit because I have to, change the text of every single assignment. But what I would do, I think I would do the remove dates because then I don't have to. I think I haven't tried this, but I think it'd be easier doing first do batch edit, remove dates, because it'll blank those out, right? And then hit save. If I go back to my assignments one by one to change the text, I think that's going to be easier to put my new dates in. Or maybe I would just change all the text and then would you recommend I go back to batch edit?
If you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about this whole editing assignment dates through
Mhm.
this page is I can also click on specific. So in your situation, Scott, maybe I want to do assignments and quizzes, but not discussions.
Okay.
I can go through and just pick specific assignments and then click the batch edit, and it will only change the dates for those.
Okay, great. So select those.
Across
Okay.
the board. So, and some people, they're just comfortable with doing it one by one. I always suggest the use of a sandbox. So playing with this in your sandbox before you actually go out and do it with a course that has students in it.
Yeah.
Even though you can still fix it, I just rather not play with my live courses. I always play in the sandbox in a test environment, basically. So that was how to adjust dates. And I had spoken about, making sure you have your content up to date as far as syllabi, welcome messages, things like that. We don't really need to physically go over that in this situation. So we will move on to setting up your gradebook. We're going to go over unpublished assignments and how to get rid of those out of your gradebook. A lot of people do just transfer all their content in and publish specific things, maybe not want to run a specific assignment, but those all populate in the gradebook. So there's a really easy way to get rid of those so you don't see them. Making dummy assignments for face-to-face course assignment grading. I really encourage everyone, if possible, to use Canvas to bring in your assignments, from your students. Saves a lot of trees, saves a lot of time in your courses, that you can actually be the content matter expert and really getting down and deep into the meat and potatoes of the course. Making assignment groups and setting assignment group rules. So we will now go back into Canvas and start playing in the gradebook. So what I have here is a gradebook, and because it's not a live class, all I have is my test student. And as of now, I have all these assignments. And it gets to be a big pain when you see all these unpublished assignments that are not going to need graded. Easiest way to fix that, come up here to view. Unpublished assignments is checked. You just click this and it takes all the unpublished assignments away. So now all you're seeing is your published assignments. Now students won't see the unpublished assignments, but in your gradebook, you'll be able to see them. It's just eliminates a big headache with that. Another issue that I've started to run into since we switched the way didn't switch, we just took away a way for faculty to enter grades throughout the semester, which used to be through the portal, really pushing towards that use of Canvas. Is a lot of people are like, okay, I still want a grade book. I still want my students to be able, my face-to-face students to be able to see their grades. How do I do that? How you will do that is we will come over here to assignments. click the big blue button that says plus assignment. And now you have a spot where you can create this, what I call a dummy assignment, just a placeholder in your grade book to where you can manually enter grades for a specific assignment. So we'll just call this test assignment. You can put your instructions. Students, students, this isn't a live assignment. This is just a spot for me to enter your grades, anything like that. You'll change the assignments, the assignment point value to whatever you want. We'll just say it's worth 15 points. If you do have assignment groups set up, which we're going to talk about in a bit, you can pick that now. If you don't really worry about assignment groups and don't see a use for it, we're not going to worry about that. Display grade as points. And now here comes the important part. Submission type. Set to online now. If you're just going to use this for a specific placeholder to add your grades manually, you will click no submission. If you would like to enter your due dates, which is best practice to enter the due date for that assignment, so students can still see, even though they're not going to turn it in on Canvas, if they come in, they will be able to see when that due date is for an assignment. So let's say your class is once a week and a student forgets when you said that assignment is due, they'll be able to go just log into Canvas. Oh, it's due on Friday, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea to just add that due date. Then you'll just come down here, click save and publish. Says it is published. When we come back over to the grade book, right here, front and center is your test assignment.
Mhm.
Let's say the test student got 10 out of 15. All we have to do is click on their spot, their column in the grade book and enter 10.
Mhm.
Now you have a spot for them to be able to view their grades in Canvas. So it's saving emails, things like that. Hey, where's my current grade in the class? All the assignments together will tally up and they will see that 10 out of 15 on one assignment got them a 66.67%, which is a D in your class. Next topic is making assignment groups. So let's say you have discussions, you have assignments, and you have quizzes. Another best practice is to make those separate groups for assignments, just so you and the student can identify maybe they're doing great on your assignments, they're doing great on discussions, but maybe there's maybe they have some anxiety over timed quizzes. Maybe they have something that needs to be identified there in their learning. And a good way to do that is through making groups. So we'll go back over to assignments. As you can see, we already have some assignment groups set up here. Assignments, discussions, and quizzes. Well, just for the sake of the argument, we'll pretend that those aren't there, and you'll click on this add group. Group name, we'll just say test assignment. Test assignments. Now what this did, Canvas always puts new things at the bottom. And you see this test assignments group. We'll just go ahead and we'll move that up there. And maybe we want our syllabus review in that test assignments group. What you have to do is come over to the 8 dots, drag it up, and drop it in that test assignments. Unit 13 assignments, which is the final, maybe we want in there as well. Who knows? Drag it up, drop it in there. So now what this is going to do when you go to the grade book is it will show at the end a test assignments column. So everything that falls inside of that assignment group, it will tally those scores and it will put them in the appropriate group. So students can see where they're failing, where they're excelling, where they're failing, and faculty can also see to where they might want to reach out to a student that's getting 100% in one group, but they're getting 40% in another group. Reach out, hey, what's going on here? What can I do to help you move this along a little bit? So that was making assignment groups. Only other thing I would like to go over as far as that goes is making assignment group rules. We're going to come back over to assignments. So one way to use an assignment group rule is, let's just say that in your quizzes, here's all of our quizzes. Let's say you're a teacher that drops the lowest quiz. And there's not you don't really know of an easy way to do that. Well, assigning assignment group rules is the easy way to drop that lowest score for each student. So, maybe Scott and I are in your class. His lowest grade was on the brain quiz. My lowest grade was on the neurons quiz. How do we factor that in? All we have to do is come over to the snowman on the right side of the quizzes header. Click on that. Click edit. It shows your group name, and then it gives you this option of number of scores to ignore for each student. So if you drop the one lowest quiz for the term, just put one. Maybe you're somebody that says we're going to drop the lowest and the highest. You would put one here. The cool thing about this as well is this never drop feature. So maybe you have your final in that assignment group and you don't want the final to be dropped because it might be worth way more points. You can always click this never drop, add an assignment, and it will give you the options of all the quizzes in that assignment group, or all those assignments in the assignment group. So maybe we don't want the social neuroscience quiz to be dropped. Save it. And then it verifies with you 3 rules. So you've done it right. If you see this, you might only have 1 rule, you might have 14 rules, who knows? But it will, and it tells you when you hover over it that the rules are drop the lowest score, drop the highest score, and never drop the social neuroscience quiz.
And that's specific to groups. So like if you could do different rules for discussions, right?
Yep. You
Great.
just do the same exact thing, click edit.
Okay.
It'll bring up the same screen. You'll add your rules for that.
Great.
1, save it. And now our discussions group only has 1 rule.
Okay.
And it tells you drop the lowest score.
Mhm.
All right. So let's move on. The best practice pretty much across the board for distance education or just online courses in general. So even if you're a face-to-face or you're a hybrid, is to post your announcements on Canvas. Like I said, you might have a 1 night a week or a 1 day a week course. Canvas is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Student doesn't write down a specific important announcement. They've got to reach out to other students, hope that they can get a hold of somebody that can answer their question. So the best practice is to post an announcement once a week. And also to add that to your homepage in Canvas. 3 announcements is really the optimal number. Really no more than 5 announcements, and you'll see why in just a second. As soon as I switch back over to Canvas, let's say we'll go back to our dashboard. We will go to the practice course shell that we imported the content into. And it's already set up here, but I can go ahead and turn this off in a hurry so you don't see it. And we'll go back to home. And as you can see here, this is my home page. Welcome to Biological Psychology. I've got my buttons that take you different places, but I don't have any announcements. And I really want my students, the first thing that they see when they go into my Canvas course is any announcements. So classes, if you're a face-to-face class, announcements is great to say, hey, class is canceled tonight. Another good announcement is, hey, don't forget, we've got a test this coming Friday. That works for a face-to-face, a hybrid, or an online course. The way to turn this on, the announcements feature, is to scroll all the way down to settings, And Canvas has kind of hidden this from people. I'm not really sure why. I think this is one of the most important things is it's not listed on any of these, so people don't really find it a lot. Down here is this more options, and you can explore these options, on your own. Reach out to me and ask me about different things you can do with these more options. But what we're really looking for right now is this one. Show recent announcements on course homepage. Make sure this box is checked. Then it will also ask you number of announcements shown on the homepage. They said best practice is really 3. If you keep your announcements linked live, they can go access previous announcements. So we're just going to leave it on 3. And then always, like I said, make sure if there's a big blue button and you want to keep whatever you did, check it, click it. It says course was successfully updated. We'll go back to our homepage. And now there's announcements right at the very top of the screen. Students can see them. If there's something new, you can also, elect in your settings, different notification things for your course, as far as if you want announcements pushed to them through different venues. Students can also set up how they want specific things sent out to them. So if they don't want to be bothered through, messaging or email or whatever, they can select that on their own. I always suggest to my students that I kind of look at the way that I want to communicate with them, and I suggest to them what I would like them to turn on or what I don't really feel is necessary. That way, if a student says, oh, I didn't get that message, I have the option to tell them, well, if you would have listened to my advice in the beginning, turned this on, you would have gotten the message 3 different ways. So there's no mistaking that message, got sent out to the students. And, I think that another good feature for this announcements is if you're doing it every week, you can do it twice a week. You can do it every day. Definitely don't want to list too many because it becomes this gigantic scroll monster and the students can't really see what you really want them to see in the course.
Yeah.
Other than that, things that you put in the announcement, upcoming things that are going on that week in your class. Maybe you have a project, they're going to need to remember to bring their project to class. Hey guys, it's Monday, class is on Wednesday. Don't forget your project. Another good one is recapping the week. So maybe on a Friday, Saturday, sending out a, hey, everybody, thanks for your hard work this week. This is what we went over. If you've had any trouble, please reach out. Just things like that really help. A lot of times as faculty, we don't really see how much this stuff means to our students. And then you'll find out from a student that you reached out and you were more available than any of the other, teachers that they had that quarter. And they really do appreciate that. So that's really, all done with announcements. You can do that with announcements yourselves and the Canvas inbox, of course, but announcements is just a really, really helpful feature in Canvas. I'm going to take us back over to our presentation. And that's it for me. If you need any further help, if you saw anything in this video that you're interested in, but maybe not exactly sure how to implement it the right way, obviously reach out to me. And I'm in B105, or you can email me. And then Scott's always available to help as well. He's right down the couple doors down from me in B101, and his email is there as well. So thank you everyone that watches this video, and thanks Scott for inviting me to do this today. And I will go ahead and stop sharing now.
Great. Well, thank you, Michael. That was super helpful. I learned a lot of new tips there. And just, I think your message is if you do some of these things at the beginning, you're going to save yourself a lot of work when your class starts. So just kind of do that. I think everything you've talked about, you would advise people to do, not when classes start, but really what, in that week before is what you're getting at.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just, it reduces a lot of that, I don't care how long you've been teaching, there's that anxiety that first week of, it might not be too much for some people, it might be a lot for some people, but getting that fired up ahead of time. I like to publish my courses the minute I get the shell, just leave it open and then set myself a reminder to reach out maybe a week and a half before the term starts and say, hey, it's open. I don't necessarily publish assignments for them to work on early, but I do publish all my modules so they can see if they want to start reading. I mean, knowledge is power, and who am I to stop someone from that wants to go ahead and start reading, the stuff in my class? And you'd be surprised how many students actually do get a jump start on the term when you give them that ability, especially students that are trying to work hard to get ahead. Maybe they're taking extra courses because they want to move through, and get to that next level of their education. You're giving them the opportunity to not have such a pile on their plate. So
absolutely. Yeah.
And we will be doing a end of semester.
Oh, cool. Yeah, but like final grades, that would be great. So we'll do the end of semester. This will be the beginning. So that's really good. Excellent. Well, cool. Thank you again, Michael. And I appreciate everyone listening in today. So what we're going to do now is we're going to transition. We have another talk here at noon.